Okay, good morning, guys. My name is Yash Kulkarni. Today, I'm going to be presenting our WebSCADA application. It's called the Oxagrid Grid Analytics Platform. Um, the system does an end-to-end activity from monitoring to analytics as well as the information dissemination through WebSCADA. Okay, for energy optimization. That is the focus area of the system, and that is our main system. Sorry. So with that, let me get into first the main problem statements that we are trying to address. So the main problem that we've realized, having worked in Indian power sector for last 30 to 33 years, um, the transition that we are seeing right now, with the increasing intake of solar energy as well as the movement towards electrification of other industries like transportation. There are certain challenges that are coming around. So mainly we've noticed that electricity utilities are facing an increasing challenge in offering access to sustainable, affordable, and reliable electricity. This access to sustainable, affordable, reliable electricity. This is also the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal. It's goal number 7, where it's access to electricity for all from a global perspective. So, looking at sustainability as the first topic, this is something um, that is impacting the more advanced utilities, whether in India or outside in the markets, where the idea is that integrations of more low carbon technologies, just as such as solar energy or say electric vehicles, grid to vehicle or vehicle to grid, and so on. This is increasing the risks of failures and increasing technical losses, especially in an aging grid infrastructure. So our electricity sector is, it's been developed from the early 1900s, and it's incrementally being added. So a lot of the infra is also very aging, and it was developed in a way for one direction flow of electricity that was mainly from large generating stations to consumers. However, now the entire focus is changing because of distributed energy resources, and this is causing a problem for the grid to sustain these new changes in the network. The second problem, which is a problem more faced in emerging markets, but of course it's a global problem. This is on affordability. In terms of affordability, the problem that we see is that the very high losses on the network, like AT&C losses, globally they estimate it to be about 90 billion US dollars, leading to losses in the distribution sector, or losses in payment collection, which percolates throughout the entire industry, causing higher electricity prices for the paying consumers. So that is another challenge that's faced. And then because of both of these challenges, eventually there's the reliability on the network. This is something that we face in India every day. Um, the growing demand for energy globally through rapid electrification is also causing reliability issues, causing more outages on the network, and keeping the network healthy is becoming a challenge. So with these problems, we realized that what if utilities had access to the information they need to make better decisions about their energy management, and that's why we came up with our solution. In a nutshell, the solution that we offer to our customers, we call it the Grid Analytics Platform. It is for better electricity. Um, the idea is real-time multi-node monitoring with advanced algorithms to optimize assets and improve network efficiency. The system comes in a three-layered system, in three layers. The first layer, which we refer to as metering or monitoring, this is nothing but the data acquisition layer. So in data acquisition, we collect and organize data from our in-house developed sensors, the OxaGrid sensors, as well as from a wide range of third-party data sources. On the left, you can see that these are the three sensors we have: seed, stem, and SLS. And I'll talk more in detail about their technical parameters in the next slides. Once you do the data acquisition, the second layer, which is the algorithms and analytics, this is the data management layer. So here we run algorithms for everything from asset optimization, energy loss, and outage reduction or recommendations, or low carbon, like such as your solar integrations, electric vehicle charging stations, um, those those kind of analytics. So once you do the data acquisition, data management, the final layer is the web SCADA, which is the visualization or what the operator uses. So it's a user friendly, simplistic dashboards, web enabled, so that you can access them from anywhere, and they provide you with the user interface to interact with all the algorithms and analytics. So this is the system in a nutshell, and now we'll go into the specifics of each um, layer. So talking about the architecture, this is um, this is how the three layers are split. We'll start from the left hand side. So this is the first layer, which is the data acquisition, then the data management, and finally the visualization layer. In terms of data acquisition, on the bottom left, you we can see that there are different ways. So the assets, which are your substation, transformers, circuit breakers, it could also be pole top distribution transformers or feeder pillars, which are available on the sides of the roads, or any other grid node, which is a measurement point. So any measurement point on the electricity infrastructure, typically the most basic ones that are inputs from your CTs and PTs to get the current and voltage measurements. Once you get CT PT input, you can calculate all your energy metering parameters, power quality parameters, and all of that. So the first two inputs are CT PT. Then after that, if you have any other analog inputs, like temperature input, pressure gauge inputs, or any other sensor inputs which are 4 to 20 milliampere standard sensors. So those go in your analog inputs, and then you have digital input output for statuses and remote controlling. These inputs are either typically or traditionally these inputs are connected to your to a substation RTU or a gateway unit, and then over an industry standard protocol such as 104 IEC 104, the data is then pushed to your data management layer. Um, so that is your traditional way of doing it, and then the other way, or the approach that we have taken is more on we've developed these IoT sensors. So these are low cost sensors that you can widespread deploy, to which are easily retrofittable on existing infrastructure like transformers, circuit breakers, and so on, to collect the same information and send it over IoT protocols, which would mainly be either HTTP or MQTT, and again into the data management layer. All of these inputs are processed through a secure gateway. The purpose of the gateway is mainly to establish wireless communication. So traditionally, the power sector, one of the major challenges was to implement the network infra, which would consist of either MPLS lease lines, the network switches, and so on, which added a lot of capital investment for doing any sort of automation projects. So to move away from that and trying to implement more new generation telecommunication capabilities, so we started using a secure gateway that establishes, say, wireless communications over mainly cellular, but also NB-IoT or other protocols. And then we established the security through VPN tunneling. So all this data that comes in through a VPN tunneling can be integrated with a cloud platform or a remote data center for data management. And yeah, and on the data management layer, which in our case we hosted on AWS, Amazon Web Services, but it can also be hosted on a customer data center or a remote private cloud. So once the data is on those servers, we will install the SCADA application, the web SCADA application on it, and then from there you can once you have the data there, then you can establish your communications over web interface or through the advanced analysis. on it. Right. So now this in another again this is the architecture. So moving on, going towards specific points. So we'll start with the metering and monitoring of the IoT sensors. This is the seed and stem devices that I mentioned earlier. These are our in-house developed sensors. The seed unit, which is a DIN rail mounted device, uh, this does feeder monitoring, which is mainly a combination of energy metering parameters, so CTPT inputs, calculations of volume metering parameters, as well as digital inputs and outputs, focused on monitoring individual feeders. So the idea is that instead of doing a hardwired cable laying with trenches and all of that, you install simple seed units on each panel or each control panel of the feeder, and the device has inbuilt wireless communications, either Bluetooth or Wi-Fi um, communication to interact with the secure gateway. The device also comes up with inbuilt Modbus for hardwired communication to legacy systems, either through RTUs and so on. So SEED is it's an energy and digital status metering, monitoring, and control device for energy networks, low voltage cables, medium voltage cables, and incoming outgoing bus bars, and so on. The device also, okay, so this is the technical specification. I'll go back to the slide for STEM. So these are all the monitor parameters from the seed device. So you can do instantaneous as well as RMS calculations of per phase voltage and current. We sample per phase voltage and currents at about 1.6 kilohertz. So and we recreate the entire waveform. So through the high speed sampling and recreating the waveform, we are in a position to also do power quality measurements if required, as well as energy calculations, import energy, export energy, the four quadrant method, and and the device is also capable of acting as a backup or a check meter for accumulated energy. So this way it can support billing purposes as well with a 0.2 class accuracy on the device. In terms of communication, like I mentioned, it comes with Wi-Fi and RS485. And then to push it to the cloud, we use cellular through a gateway. PT connections are three-phase, four-wire. That is the standard, but you also get three-phase, three-wire communication for Delta connections. Per phase calculations of voltages, per phase calculation of current, and we do clamp-on CTs, so there is no burden on the existing connections. So you can use either clamp-on CTs or Rogowski coils for flexible installations, especially handy in distribution market where there are non-standard cable lengths or cable diameters in place. Sorry. Moving on, then we have the device also has digital inputs and outputs, so to measure breaker status, isolator status, and so on. And you can also do remote controlling. So that we provide 4 channels for remote controlling of each feeder. This can be used for operating your breaker and your isolators per feeder. The device comes with internal storage, a micro SD card. So it provides a 1-month backup data of the entire measurements, just like any energy meter. There's time synchronization also within the device, so individual feeder can be synchronized, and then you can understand at a wide area network the conditions of the entire network that is being monitored. The device is also CE marked, CE certified, and provides accuracy of 0.2 class, as I mentioned before. So this is the seed device for feeder monitoring, and then and then taking the same unit and expanding its capabilities, we developed the STEM device, which is a transformer monitoring unit. STEM stands for Smart Transformer Efficiency Monitor, and the STEM is used for mainly monitoring of distribution and power transformers. It also has the same channel inputs of currents and voltages. It does the 1.6 kilohertz high-speed sampling of each phase, and it calculates all the metering parameters. From your energy, power factor, or frequency, and so on. But along with that, the STEM also comes with a sensor module. So the sensor module in the STEM device provides this additional measurements of asset parameters, which is your winding temperature, oil level, tap position, fan status, pump status, and so on. The same device, the other additional features like I mentioned, so are the 4-channel analog inputs for measuring these inputs. Especially on the tap position, we provide inbuilt excitation. So this is mainly useful for power transformers that are having OLTC capabilities. The device also can do DC voltage and DC current measurement if required. This is mainly to if you would like to monitor the substation batteries, and just to understand the healthiness of the battery bank as a whole, whether it's providing 110-volt DC if that is the specification, and what is the current DC current that is flowing through the system at any time. The STEM unit is also CE certified with all proper EMI EMC certification in place. So these are the seed and stem device that do the actual data acquisition. And then once the data is acquired through the cellular gateway, we are able to push the data to the cloud. And this, instead of seed and stem, you can also use third-party RTUs. Whether they are Synergy RTUs or Phoenix RTUs or any other brand, as long as they provide data over industry standard protocols like IEC 101, 104, and so on. So same devices, all of those, whether RTUs or IoT sensors, they all integrate with our cellular gateway. And this is also a third party off the shelf dual SIM cellular gateway that supports 2G, 3G, 4G communication to push data to a remote SCADA server. Because our IoT sensor, because we utilize a mesh networking architecture within the substation, we try to do the entire thing over Wi-Fi, and the gateway supports Wi-Fi as well. So it acquires data from the sensors over Wi-Fi, from the RTU say over Ethernet, and it converts it into a cellular output that's to push the data to the cloud. The communication between the gateway to the cloud is secured over a VPN tunnel. Typically either IPsec or OpenVPN. Our preference is on OpenVPN just because of the open standard protocol. And finally, the gateway unit also supports SNMP, and that is also integrated with the SCADA platform to have a real-time understanding from the operator on the status of communication between each gateway. Things like when the system startup time, system reboot, system time update, and so on that. So this is on the data acquisition side. Once the data is pushed from the gateway to the cloud, where we are on the data management layer, the cloud hosted web apps for data management and dissemination. We provide 2 platforms to the operator, to the grid utility customers. One is the admin web app, which is a URL called admin.oxa.io or admin.utilityname.io, where logging into the username, logging into the admin console, you can configure the entire system just like how you would configure a typical SCADA system. And once the configuration is done, then you can log into the front end application, which is more for the operators to view the real-time data that is coming into the system, perform any analysis they require, generate any reports, events, as well as do any remote controlling on the system. So these are the 2 layers within the UI. So now looking at a nutshell of the admin console, it's a very detailed portal, but I've just kept one slide just to indicate what are just a small indication of what we do. So the first step 1 is we perform a complete asset mapping of the existing infrastructure. So we create something called a digital twin of your substation or of your asset base, wherein we, like for example, in this screen, we are talking about a power transformer or power transformer number 3 from say a customer's sale route pillar. These are some of the details that are captured. So the system captures details not only from metering and monitoring perspective, but as well as everything from the asset nameplate information, as well as historic statistical data, like how many times it's had faults on it, repairs, and so on, or measured condition of partial discharge test, and just to give a small example. So through this method, you are able to digitize your entire asset base and provide something called a digital twin that can then be a replica of the existing infrastructure. It will do everything from GIS mapping, such as your latitude, longitude for the assets, mapped on say Google Maps, and so on. The admin console also provides you with a electric single line diagram editor tool, and you can also map your entire operator hierarchy. So substation, sections, subdivision, division, town, circle, and so on. So the client hierarchy as well as the device hierarchy can also be mapped into the system. User access control can be managed through the platform. So a user can be assigned access to only certain number of assets that he has to manage and control. So after we do the asset mapping and we set up the entire system on the platform, then the next step is of course doing the advanced analysis of the algorithms. This is our core technology that we have implemented into the system. And here's a small list of algorithms which are currently deployed for live customers. So these are algorithms using deep learning to generate alerts on the analytics platform, client systems, either through SMS and emails and so on. So talking about each of these algorithms, the first one, which is fault management. This is a fault management system that does detection of faults, either through the IoT sensor or through RTUs by monitoring the breaker position, the relay status, and so on. It detects a fault, does the start time, end time of a fault, as well as it classifies the location and type of fault. Right, so whether the fault is because of a manual tripping or whether the fault is because of an overcurrent relay operation or so on. So an entire architecture is maintained for fault management. So post-mortem analysis can be conducted. Impacts of faults on one feeder can be checked with other feeders to see how the variations in current voltages are happening and so on. So that's a fault management system that we provide through the CAP platform. The second system that we can do is what we call as asset health. This is mainly focused on looking at the healthiness of transformers and cables that need repairing. So if you have a large asset base of more than say 100 or 1,000, 10,000 cable sections, for example, you cannot test all the cable sections every day. So in that case, the asset health algorithm classifies your asset base into health index bands, which can be done between health index 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the health index bands basically tell you which assets are in healthy, good working conditions, as well as which assets are in a risky or about to fail condition, so that you can prioritize your maintenance strategies or optimize your maintenance strategies to focus on those assets that require further maintenance. So that's on asset health. Then you have low carbon technology integrations, which are nothing but identifying the right portfolio of low carbon tech, like electric vehicles, solar wood, rooftop solar generation, storage systems. So the idea here is that because the infrastructure is aging and the infrastructure is heavy capital invested, certain parts of the infra is going to be overloaded and certain parts will be underloaded. So through this algorithms or through this analysis, you are in a better position to understand where we should have more increasing connections for renewables to manage the grid, and where connections to on the grid, how they will impact the rest of the infrastructure, whether it will cause an overloading on the transformer or the station transformer, whether it will increase the chances of failures of the network and so on. So that is what is managed through the low carbon integration algorithms. The other ones, sorry. Okay. The other ones which are simple are things like the statutory limit violations or load transfer alternatives, benchmarking, comparative tests. So these are the limit violations are simple trigger alarms. If certain conditions are crossed, then alarms are raised. These can also be integrated with our predictive algorithms to provide predictive alerts to inform when limits would be crossed in the future. So a day ahead or maybe 6 hour ahead alarms, so that operators can take preventive actions on the system. Load transfer alternatives are just suggestive algorithms that inform operators if a switching on the grid infra is required to provide a more balanced supply to the demand, thereby ensuring that no assets are in overloaded conditions at any given time. Next is the Next is the benchmarking and comparative alerts. Benchmarking alerts are informed that look at the performance of the various assets within the grid infra to allow the operators to understand which assets or which areas are performing at a higher efficiency than the other ones, thereby providing the success metrics or the learnings from one geographical location to another, and ensuring an overall improvement in efficiency on the grid. Electricity theft. This is a patented algorithm that we have developed. This focus on predicting when, to a certain level of accuracy, areas where pilferage or theft is happening, and what amount of theft is happening on a given point. The other one, which are recent projects that we completed, these are around reliability indexing. This was a government scheme that came from PFC, Power Finance Corporation, and Ministry of Power for called RTDAS. This was real-time data acquisition systems with the idea of calculating reliability calculations such as SciD, SciFi, and publishing that on a monthly, quarterly, yearly basis of various circles or the entire distribution companies. And finally, we also have the forecasting tool that I mentioned earlier. So this forecasting tool can be applied for generation forecasting on renewables as well as demand forecasting on the consumption side. So depending on the type of utility, the forecast can be applicable for managing your demand or load, or as well as managing your generation, especially from solar and wind plants, and ensuring that there's balancing on the grid. So these are some of the algorithms that we have. There's a longer list, and the same algorithms can be applied to various individual parameters that are being calculated or the system as a whole. And we can discuss more in detail, but this is something that goes as a hand in hand with a customer requirement versus the technology, so that it can be tweaked to suit the needs of every Indian utility or energy company. So finally, after this, this thing we come to the analytics layer. Sorry, the visualization layer. We call this the analytics software. This is the web SCADA. This is a small dashboard of the SCADA system as it looks on the URL. So you get a URL, you log in with your username, password, and based on your access credentials, you will be able to see your table of alerts, or the assets that are marked in the nation or in the monitored area. So it's customized to meet user requirements, easy to use dashboards with minimum learning curves, enables drilling down to raw streaming data for detailed analysis. Just some of the screens that are provided from the front end. This is the proactive analytics. These are the real-time dashboards and alerts which are shown on the single line diagram. So the commissioning engineer or the grid operator, they have complete freedom to draw their dynamic single line diagrams as they require, and showcase any of the most important data points that they would like to monitor in real time. This can be done for each asset, as well as an aggregation information can be provided on demand as well. So in this case, you can also see the breaker positions, red being meaning that the breakers are off, the currents are, the line is charged. What are the peak demand on the transformer? What was the peak current that was faced on the transformer, and so on. So this is the single line diagram. Similarly, for the alerts, the dashboards on the alerts, or also we provide details on each alert. By clicking on the alert, you can understand that what is the alert detail and at what time or at what point the alert was triggered based on graphical information through a charting tool. Each of the alerts also comes with notes, so that the grid operator, when they acknowledge an alarm and they move it from a live to a historic alert, they can also write the reasons for why the alert was triggered in the first place, or what remedial action had been taken after the alert was triggered. So these can be done. Benchmarking tools are there, and so on. So after the alarms, then we look at the reports. We either Scope or Oxigrid, we provide standard reports that we have developed on our own. So this is a list of standard reports, such as the one we are seeing here, which is an energy efficiency report. This is basically looking at the incoming and outgoing energy to understand what is the efficiency of transformation on the asset in condition. We look at it at a 24-hour, 7-day, 30-day time scale, and so on. But all of these reports, whether standard reports or customized reports, they are all customizable based on operator requirements. Each customer or each operator prefers to view his data in his fashion or style. So these reports can be completely customized as per operator requirement, and the reports can be downloaded as PDF or Excel format for either information storage or passing it on to other colleagues and so on. So this is the report. So we looked at single line diagram, the alarms, the reports in that case. So with that, I think I've completed the technology aspects. I can quickly talk about the case studies. But before that, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat room. We can take a look at some of the questions and answer them as well. I'll take a 1-minute break on the technical aspects, and then we can move to the case studies. If I was fast at any of the points, if any of the information was unclear, I'm more than happy to revisit any of the older slides and explain them more in detail if required. Okay, and if not, then we can move forward. So this is talking about some of the case studies that we have done. This is just a sample that we picked up of different applications that we can implement the grid analytics platform. The system, for example, the first one, which is an example with an Indian discom, Mahadiscom. This is where we've implemented the application as a substation monitoring system, right? So this is doing a local substation monitoring as well as the remote SCADA system, right? So we've taken about 14 33 by 11 kV distribution substations, and we monitored all of their incoming as well as outgoing electric feeders, the power transformer in the substation, as well as the DC battery bank. And all of this, all these assets were monitored in real time. 15-minute readings were captured and pushed to their data center in Mumbai. On the data center, we installed the software application, and we ran various analytics to inform the grid operators, the testing engineers, the O&M, the circuit managers and so on, to understand every time a fault was happening on the line. Instant SMS alerts were provided. If there were increasing losses within the transformer, certain transformers were identified that were providing higher losses during energy transformation, and so on. We identified battery banks that were fluctuating, that required replacement or maintenance in the system, and just overall reporting tools to understand whether the load shedding was happening as per the plan, or was there excessive load shedding that was happening outside of the planned load shedding schedule. So this was the Mahavitaran substation monitoring project. This same project was then expanded to provide the RTDA system at other utilities in India as well. So similar implementation, but where in Mahadiscom, where we did with IoT sensors, the other locations we did with third-party RTUs over IEC 104 protocol, and the post-processing on cloud. The second project here, that the example that I have is a predicting voltage limit violations. This project was a innovation project that was done with a UK distribution company called Western Power Distribution. The idea was that they wanted to monitor their secondary substations, 11 kV by 440 volt substations, and understand every time there was a voltage violation that was happening, that would trigger a a penalty from the grid regulator for violating outside of the allowed voltage band. So we were looking at the voltage data on the transformer, and we were doing day-ahead predictions to understand whether the day-ahead voltage profile with RMSE of 0.7 volt or more was happening. And then every time there would be a voltage anomaly that was being predicted, it would be flagged and informed to the operator on possible violations, so that predictive actions could be taken either through applications of capacitor banks or and so on, to avoid over voltage penalties. So in this project, we only provided the analytical software that sat on top of existing SCADA systems. So the system, so the grid analytics platform that we have developed is very modular in design. We can do an end-to-end deployment like the one that we did at Mahadiscom, or we could do a deployment only of the software like what we have done with the other RTDAS projects, or we could even deploy individual analytics or individual algorithms without having to deploy the entire software or any of the hardware applications. So this was another project. Talking about industry side, this was an in-house project that we did for a proof of concept, but the same has also been applied at other industries, where the idea is mainly to do energy management within a large energy consumption companies, wherein we monitor their based on their manufacturing plants. We can monitor individual manufacturing hall consumption, or office building, first floor, second floor, heavy equipments, and so on, and provide efficiency insights as to how energy consumption can be tweaked to ensure a more balanced load. At our own factory, we also are in process of installing solar rooftop panels and battery banks to provide an entire microgrid management system of sorts, where a lot of the consumption would be tapered to ensure that the consumption is happening from the same electricity that is being generated through renewable means, and then minimizing the purchase of electricity from the discoms in that case. So that is on the industrial energy efficiency side. We also did a similar project for Tata, where we were doing transformer load analysis. This was for their solar generation plant in Bikaner, where we were monitoring their step-up transformers from after generation and before connection to the grid. We were looking at their transformer load profiles to understand how whether all the transformers were generating evenly, or whether there were certain transformers that were not behaving as per standard methods. and providing monthly reports to the customer, to the grid operator, to see what changes can be done. Correctly predicted transformer hotspot temperatures, saving client costly capex and increasing spare capacity on the network. So this was the Tata project. Another project was on cable health analysis. This was done with a Danish utility called EV in Denmark. And here the idea was that mainly in Denmark they went for underground cabling because of the extreme temperatures that they face. They have had underground cabling since the early 1900s. Not early 1900s, maybe mid 1900s, where a lot of their infrastructure is because it is underground. The maintenance was becoming more difficult. They have adopted a preventive replacement strategy where after a certain time duration they replace all their cable sections, whether healthy or unhealthy, which leads to a heavy capital investment and uh, basically a heavy capex. And now the utility was interested in implementing more advanced tools to understand whether they can optimize their expenses on capital investment, wherein the cables would be replaced only if they were close to failure. So they provided us with a lot of data from their SAP system on historic fault patterns, as well as historic consumption patterns, to understand which cables were in what state of activity. And then based on that, we classified about 10,000 cables into various health index bands, and we were able to identify which cables were in a high risk of failure. Even after providing our results, EV wasn't completely convinced on that, and they went forward, and we have case studies where there were certain cable sections that we informed them are at a high risk of failure, and they did fail at given times. So we are able to calculate residual life on assets, as well as the criticality of the asset for replacement. So this was an interesting innovation project that we did outside India. And then finally, the theft detection algorithm that I mentioned earlier, which is a patented technology now. So we got support from the UK government to develop this theft detection algorithm, which looks at the uh, consumption profile of consumers and predicts what a day ahead consumption would be like. And if there is a variation from the consumption, the system uses intelligence to classify whether the deviation was because of a changing load profile, or because of, say, weather patterns or so on, or whether it was because of an unregistered tapping on the network. The same technology is now being implemented, or on a pilot basis, of course, with BEST in Mumbai as well. So with that, these are just some of the various case studies, or various implementation applications that we have had with the grid analytics platform. Of course, our core focus is on downscale substation monitoring and wide scale distribution automation system. But the same system can be implemented in bits and pieces on need basis on existing infrastructure or existing automation systems. So it's very flexible in its nature. It does not require to do a complete overhaul from your hardware data acquisition layer, your networking and communication infra, or heavy investments into data centers and servers. It can be implemented in bits and pieces on need basis to bridge gaps which are there in the existing automation systems, and that's our differentiating factor from our competition. This is my last slide. This talks about some of the channel partners that we have, or the projects that we have done globally. Like I mentioned, some of them. The project that we did in Denmark with EV, or the project in UK with Western Power Distribution. We have also been recognized uh, at the EDP Starter competition. This was held at Web Summit in Portugal. We've done projects with US Siemens office, with Mexico, with Solstein. Um, and we have we have university tie-ups with UK universities, as well as in India we are tied up with VJTI in Mumbai for development of some of the algorithms and analytics. In China, we've done it with TUSPark, which is a, um, a startup division of the Tsingtao University, the Technical University of China, and so on. And yes, so finally, as next steps to a successful cooperation, we like to hear from our utility customers or from our participants if whether there are any technical challenges that are being faced. We can provide you with technical approvals. You can appoint representation of team and at client locations and do projects hand in hand. So we are looking forward to working together for a reliable, affordable, and sustainable energy future for all. So with that, I say thank you. This is my presentation, and I hand it over to Sanket if you can do any Q&A.
Yes, can we go back to slide number 12? Is it possible for you to
Okay.
repeat that particular slide?
Slide number 12, this one.
Yes.
Anything specific in the slide that you'd like me to touch?
Can you just explain more about this statutory limit violation?
Sure. So actually, the point is this. I mean, on this slide, we are showing all the various algorithms, right, that we have developed, and out of that, one of the areas that we focused on was statutory limits. Okay. So as per the grid code, and every utility has to abide by a grid code that is set up by the regulators, whether at a state level or at the national level, um, which defines certain limits that the infrastructure is supposed to operate in, right? Like for example, in India, our frequency is 50 hertz, plus or minus 0.05%, I think. So the transmission operates at that, and then if in case you don't abide by those regulatory norms, then there's a penalty that is imposed by the regulators on uh, the electricity companies. Talking about it from a distribution or an industry perspective, you can look at the same problem as from a power factor, right? So if you're a heavy industries company, running a lot of say motors, inductive motors, and so on, the limit is there are penalties from zero point 0.7, zero point 0.8, 0.9, 0.95 power factors. So every time you pull your power factor below, say 0.9, you get X percent penalty. If it is at 0.8, you get Y percent penalty, and so on. So through this algorithm, through this the limit violation algorithm, we are able to because we are doing real-time monitoring of individual parameters, we can link those parameters or that data with our forecasting tool and be able to forecast with a very high accuracy in case a violation will occur in the next 3 hours, 6 hours, a day ahead conditions. Once you have that information of knowing when a violation can occur, then only are you well equipped to take preventive actions. Preventive actions are again another whole range of activities, such as installations of capacitor banks, installations of uh, you have power factor controllers and so on. That can be done, and this also provides you with a clean report that can then be used for for dispute resolution in case you are wrongly penalized or you believe that your parameters were within the limits and you are still penalized. Then you can also use the system to provide authenticated data for dispute resolution. So that is the statutory limit violation algorithm that we do.
Right. And how does this machine learning helps us in getting all these statutory limit violation data beforehand?
So machine learning is a very broad concept actually. So through machine learning, actually, what we do is we implement a technique called LSTM, long short-term memory. The idea is that you look at 6 weeks of data, 4 to 6 weeks of data, and using that data, you should be able to forecast what your consumption or what that parameter would be for day ahead. Through so what I'm trying to say is that the machine learning techniques, this LSTM technique, is used on the forecasting tool, and that forecasting tool takes in multiple inputs, right? So of course the parameter in question is the basic input. Along with that, you can have third-party inputs like your weather conditions, whether it's a hot day or a humid day. Depending on that, you know whether you're going to be using fans, ACs, or whether it will just be if it's a cold day, you might just keep your windows open like that. Then if it's a holiday, if it's a weekend or a holiday, or if it's a weekday, so you understand whether the loads are going to be more commercial loads or whether they'll be residential loads kicking in and so on. So all of these inputs are used for on the forecasting tool to focus on the parameter in hand to provide the result set. That's how machine learning is implemented in this system.
Thank you. We haven't got any questions yet, but then people have demanded for a recording. Please notice that we will be sending you a replay link at around 3 o'clock to your inbox. So kindly check your spam mail as well. Other than this, for this GAP software, we have mentioned that will be able to use a self-developed sensor as well as third-party sensors. So, are we facing any issue with integrating with the third-party sensors?
No, not at all actually. I think that's a good question. Coming back to the architecture slide, right? So our focus had when we started developing this system, our focus was always to ensure to um, keep the system should be retrofittable, right? So we wanted to keep the one of the differentiating factors was to keep the system as low on investment as possible and provide only those components which are required for filling a gap in an existing automation system, right? So in case the customer is already having, and typically all customers will be having energy meters, and most of them might be having RTUs also installed. So if you have data coming in from your RTU over an industry standard protocol, so we interface and collect data from that same data set or that same protocol, right? So we've tried to implement as many open protocols like Modbus, DNP3, your IEC 101, 104, OPC, right? So you can take all of these data sets from existing systems and push it into our analytics platform. Once the data comes into our platform, in a time series structured manner, then we are open to running all sorts of various algorithms, analytics, and providing a UI, a simplistic web UI for you to view your information. So there's no need to do that heavy understanding or training of using big SCADA systems inside control rooms. You can also have a simplistic system with a simple username password sitting at home and viewing just your real time conditions of the network. So that's how we do it. And yes, so the system is open with a very large library of protocols, and there to support all industry standard protocols and equipment. And of course, if there has been Bay extensions or you have an automation system which was installed 5 years ago, and since then you have had say maybe one or two Bay extension projects that were done, but during the Bay extension projects, if they were not integrated with an existing RTU system, in that case, what we can do is we can install our IoT sensors on only those feeders or those transformers and be able to collect data of that excess feeders and push it into the same system as your existing automation. So you get a more holistic and complete picture of the network. And in many conditions, when we were doing market research, we noticed this problem that the entire substation was not monitored, some excessive bays were left unmonitored, or some rural connections, agricultural connections are unmetered, for example. So those can be monitored and metered through our sensors without touching the rest of the system. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. In India, people are a bit skeptical about web-based SCADA system with their data privacy and other things. So how are we taking care of this?
See, that can, I mean, there are many ways of taking care of it. Of course, there are advanced cybersecurity certifications that are now being implemented in India as well. So, we can certify the system that we deploy to the customer and improve our security layers. But more on a more simplistic level, if the customer is not comfortable with a web-enabled system, we can also deploy the entire system in a private network where the system will be deployed on on-premise servers that can be installed at the customer location, and the connection there can be established through VPN. So you have to be inside that network, inside the customer's local network to view the data, so that it cannot be accessed from any person outside the system. And then even for customers who are sitting within the local network, they will again be provided with usernames and passwords, and they will be given access only to that data which they are for that username. So the system will restrict your access to viewing outside information as well. So there are multiple ways of ensuring cybersecurity, and this is an area that we are specializing in as well. And the partnership that we have with VJTI in Mumbai, that is also to ensure that we are at the forefront of cybersecurity activities.
Okay, thank you. Yes, the feedback link is already there in the chat box. I request all to please fill up the feedback form. And if you have any queries, please write to us at marketing@spoketnm.com. So we can be able to help you with whatever queries you have. If not now, maybe later, if there is any query raised in your mind regarding to the web-based SCADA system, which through Oxagrade Scope is providing in India, you can definitely write to us on this. You can also visit Oxagrade website to understand more about it. With this, if we don't have any more queries, we can close this webinar.
Okay. Guys, thank you for your participation, and thank you for patiently listening. Um, my details are there in the presentation that we will share later on. If you have any questions afterwards, also feel free to drop us an email, and we can conduct. Uh, we can also conduct private webinars or seminars for you and your colleagues if required.